It's Don here from the board. Thanks for coming along and checking out this video. So you might have seen from the title today, I'm going to be reviewing a KBDFans Tofu keyboard, but the description says it's scuffed. So pretty much that's exactly what this is. It's a scuffed tofu. The tofu has been around a really long time. There's a couple of different variants, I believe, and this is actually the first time that I have had one in front of me personally to check out and review. I specifically bought this though because it was scuffed, and from the listing that the seller had was that it has already had its anodization taken off. So it has surface defects, scratches, marring. I can't remember if it had dents or anything else like that. And I honestly don't care, right? Like, for me, the form factor, the weight, the feel is more important than the anodize. But it also gives me a bit more freedom, which I'll talk about later on, to potentially what I can actually do with this keyboard and have a bit of fun. So let's switch down over to the desktop and have a look at this and unbox this scuffed tofu. Right, so it came in a huge parcel box, which I've just covered my address there with a bit of fabric. I have not opened it yet. It's actually been sitting around for a little bit because with COVID, work from home, homeschooling and everything else like that, it's been a bit difficult to film content, and thankfully I had a bit of content that was actually backed up, as well as other obligations such as stuff that's come in from people that support the channel. So I don't actually know what I'm expecting to see in here. My keyboard isn't actually on the side like I normally do because my son is actually at a standing age now and he likes to be grabby. So if I actually pull the drawers that are open here, I'm kind of concerned that he's going to pull on that. So I'm making do with what limited space that I've got. It's really funny because I've opened the box and, whoa, bumping the microphone. And all it is literally just the scuffed tofu in a bit of bubble wrap in this huge box. So it's kind of overkill, but I'm happy that they did that just because they put a lot of thought into actually protecting this poor keyboard so it could have maybe a better life here, or at least a different life here with me. So now, because it's already had its anodization taken off, it'll be the base aluminium color. So I'm not expecting anything fancy about it. They've packed it pretty well, so that's nice. Now, I'm led to believe that it actually should have the PCB with it, and I'm not sure, but I think it might be a hot swap, but we'll see very shortly when I actually get into this package proper on what the end result is going to be. Plenty of tape, always good. Okay. It's got a good amount of weight to it, which I suppose is nice if you're chasing that. Just going to tear that. Oh, they've actually used a bubble wrap bag. That's why it's a bit weird. There we go. Whoa, okay. So I can see what they mean about it. Wow. Okay, so here it is. It is a wind keyless tofu. Bit of plastic there, and it is it's pretty scuffed. It's like it's almost gone through a fire or something. So it is a hot swap, and what I'm talking about there is you can see the sort of oxidation and corrosion that has happened on the actual base metal there. It's had its surface treatment blasted and removed. There's a lot of sort of anodization, removal and oxidation of the bare aluminium underneath. It's pretty patchy and splotchy. The sides of it's actually also quite Well, the reflection's not helping, but you can see how rough it is. I actually don't mind the look. It does give it kind of a bit more of a working level, shall I say. Something has been well used. It's had a lot of love in this actual board. The bottom side, it's missing the feet. Obviously they probably took it off to actually clear it, and there's a lot of scratches and surface marking on that from probably removing all that anodize. Interestingly, this piece here at the back, which I guess covers the PCB if you wanted a right or a left hand side USB port depending on the PCB that goes into it, isn't, you know, damaged as such. They probably took it off to actually get rid of the surface coating. But looking at this case objectively, right, looking at this keyboard, it's quite a comfortable angle. I like that. It's not too high. Obviously there's no feet that you can adjust it with. Having the little bump-ons would raise it a couple of mil, but there's nothing too spectacular about that. It's a good natural angle. Win keyless, you know, I use Win key a lot, so it's not that much. I probably wouldn't use a Win keyless very often, but I could probably reprogram something else to act as a Win key if I wanted that Win key function, that GUI function. But I do use Windows shortcuts for like screen captures and stuff like that, and for menu options. So, you know, that's okay, each to each own. Now, I want to probably get inside and have a look at this PCB, and I've been completely unprepared. Standard Phillips head by the looks of it. Are there screws in every corner? Right, so let's go with a... It's got a bit of slack on that. Yeah, okay, that size. So it's a PH1, Phillips head 1 by the looks of it. Don't know where my usual tray's gone, so I'll just use a sewing needle tray instead. Okay, the screws don't seem to be magnetic because, well, that's really deep and I can't reach that with this driver. No. So I'll see if my long boy will reach it. Oh, it's too fat. No. What am I going to do? Okay, so that'll be a bit of a challenge if my screwdriver will not actually reach in deep enough. I'll just... Okay, so the bit will reach it, but because it's magnetic, I have to deliberately stop it from snapping onto the magnet so it can retain. Alright, I've broken the grip on that, so I'll be able to actually turn it. As nice as these type of sets are, they do have limitations in how deep they can access. Did that actually undo it? Yeah, okay. Oh, there's another one at the front. That's the one I was missing. There we go. Hey, no scratching. Wow, you can see there's like black stuff that's coming off from all of this. Okay. Ah, they already foamed it. Interesting. Interesting. All right. Well, I'm just gonna carefully try and cover these screws. Oh, they're all out. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, so yeah, they've really gone to it. Manual sanding, I think, by the looks of it. I don't know if they actually did blast it with anything, but it's got a lot of residue that's actually still there, so I'm definitely gonna have to wash my hands later, but that's okay. And there is the back of the PCB. So it's nice that there's a bit of foam in there with the USB coverage on it. Right, and okay, so it's held in. So I've not actually taken one of these before apart, but look at that. There you go. So that's the actual slider that has a couple of different screw holes. So the screw hole there lines up, and that screw hole lines up from another side. It's quite heavy, which is nice. And so I was wondering, because it had magnetic behavior on it. So there's a little magnet that's actually embedded underneath there. So there's a magnet right there that's actually holding on to my screwdriver, and this brass insert, I think, because it's got quite a lot of weight in it, has 2 little magnets that help it lock in. So that's a really cool design. I like that. For me, I think it doesn't really matter because my cables run everywhere and I don't normally have a USB-C anyway, so you know, it sitting on the left hand side, right hand side doesn't really matter, but we'll just leave it on the left hand side for now. That person's cut out the foam for both left and right hand sides, obviously, because the PCB has left and right hand side USB-C connectors on it, which is pretty cool. Right, so it's a HHKB style V2 2019 PCB design. There's a reset button there. We've got underglow across the whole board, top and bottom rows, but obviously with a full case like this, you're not going to see that underglow very cleanly. Oh, okay, it's nice that it's got some spare diodes down here as well. You've got some big diodes and you've got some spare resistors. It's screwed in, and they've obviously got the stabilizers that are in it and they've left in it. They've got lube on it, a little bit gummy. Whether they've been over lubed or not doesn't really matter. And they're using, on this particular PCB, the KBDFans hot swaps, which isn't really surprising because, you know, that's still fairly standard. Although these days you can get Gatoron, and I think Texi are also doing the hot swap sockets. It's a pretty clean design. I can see the actual matrix runs there, the traces, and it looks pretty good. There's a split backspace option up here at the top. Yep, so that's the split backspace up the top instead of a standard backspace. Nice. It's nice and clean. I like that. It's good. Right, so let's put that back together. I mean, they've obviously taken the whole case apart to get rid of the coating. You can see that they've done that on the inside here as well. You know, they've actually taken that coating off, and it's that darker aluminium from the sanding, and it's sort of still got residue on it. But I guess now is the time to talk about what am I going to do with this? What am I actually going to do with this, and why was I interested in it? Well, I was interested in it because I've never painted a full keyboard before. And while I'm not going to be dabbling in anodization of a keyboard, because I don't have that kind of setup, I do have modeling paint. And I believe there should be some primer in it. So I'm going to give it a try at some point in time. And I'm going to hit this up with some primer. I'll probably mask off, you know, maybe I won't mask the plate. I don't know, it depends on how thick it is. Maybe I will mask it so it won't stop the tolerance fitment into the plate. I do want to mention that it is actually a one-piece top. So the actual plate is part of the milled top. You probably can't see it very cleanly, but you can see the bottom of this top plate piece is the bottom of the actual plate layer, right? So it's a very simple way that they've gone and done that, but then they've actually got the mounts, the standoffs, as part of that milling, because it's not an extra... Is it extra? Maybe they're standoffs that they've actually screwed in as part of that holding. You know what? We're going to undo one of these just to check it out, because I hadn't really thought about that. That's assuming I can actually get it open. Is that small enough? Yeah. No, that's milled. That's milled. So the standoff is actually, so you can't see that because the camera focus was terrible just then, but that standoff there is actually, it looks like it's part of the milled case. So the case aluminium would have been thicker, the height of that standoff, and then they've cut it all away just to have that protrusion for those standoffs, by the looks of it. I might be wrong. Somebody can always mention that in the comments below and correct me. Happy to be corrected. But that's what it looks like. So cool. Bit of thought has gone into that. Make sure that's nice and strong and sturdy. There's a screw there, that, and a screw there that you could optionally put in, but obviously really not required. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 holding it in. It's pretty sturdy, I would say. Alright, let's put that back together. So yeah, so I do have a set of modeling paints, like miniatures modeling paints. It's acrylic, but I think it'll be okay. You know, I don't expect it to be super hard wearing. So what I would like is, you know, if you've actually watched this video and you've watched this video all the way through to the end and you've listened to what I've been talking about, leave me in the comments for this video below what kind of colors you would like to see me paint this case. It doesn't have to be just one flat boring color. You know, there's a top piece, there's a bottom piece. I can try and do patterns and mask it with masking tape and stuff like that. I wouldn't say anything crazy out there that would be complicated to do, but if you've got any ideas on what you'd like me to try and do, I've got basic primary colors, I believe, but I'll try and, you know, color it as best I can if I don't have any of exotic colors that you've got. I don't even remember the actual paint set that I bought for that purpose. I actually am going to use the little airbrush thing that I got ages ago to review, and hopefully that will do the trick in being able to cover this with the acrylic primer and then allow me to airbrush it and paint it. So yeah, I'm actually super happy with this kit. The fact that I paid very little for it, all things considering how much it is to buy one of these brand new, I almost feel like I took advantage of the person that was selling it, but they were happy to sell it at the price. You know, it's all aluminium, it's super strong. Like, I'm not even going to bother trying to do a flex test here, just with how thick the actual aluminium is. That's just silly. And the fact that they've already cleaned it and removed the anodize so I can paint it on a fresh base there. The fact that, you know, they've already taken the feet off and I can just put 3M bump-ons on there afterwards, which I should have some left over somewhere. If not, I can just get some. Yeah, they've pre-installed stabilizers, screw-in stabilizers, which is pretty cool. So, you know, I got the value out of the stabilizers in there as well. Just overall, I think I got really good value out of this buy. Got to check out one of these for the first time, and it's all prepped and ready to go for me to mod it. So yeah, very lucky, very lucky. Rightio. Well, I'm going to wrap up there as I'm putting the finishing turns on this to get it back together so I won't lose those screws. I hope you enjoyed having a look at what one of these looks like if you ever decide to strip the paint and anodize off a tofu when keyless. But there you go. That's what it looks like. Now, of course, that can just be slid left and right now that I know that it's only a magnet that's actually holding it. Of course, you can lock it in if you want to put a screw and get an extra screw, which obviously they either didn't have or they lost. Didn't come with it. Not a big deal. Yeah, I'll probably give it another sand down and clean and wipe it off and dry it so it's got a better surface for painting when it's ready for that, just so that the surface has a bit of grip and texture on it. Yeah, cool bananas. That's just being silly, right? Trying to twist, an aluminium keyboard like this. Nice. Right. Comments below. What colors? Any particular patterns? And of course, if you're new to this channel, or you like this kind of stuff, want to see me try and get hold of more other things as long as my budget permits me to do so, then hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button. You know the drill. Thank you for coming along and checking out this video. And of course, as usual, until next time, happy clacking.